demonstrator from southern Tasmania. Thanks for joining me this morning. I had an empty screen there. I don't usually start like that. Well, welcome to my craft room. I've moved everything around in my craft room and was just congratulating myself that I'd avoided the little sun rays, but then I realised that it's quite dark outside and there was no sun anyway. So just as I was about to go live, the sun came out and there was a sun ray coming. Oh, that's my volume. I know my volume's working anyway. So the sun came out and this huge sun ray came down in the middle of my work. So I've been scrambling around on my desk trying to move my pieces of paper from the blinds. So apologies if it's a bit dark. I've actually left the blinds closed, hoping to stop some of that sunlight from going across my work, which you're all going to get very sick of hearing about unless I find a solution pretty soon. Anyway, so thanks for joining me. I can see a few people jumping on, which is lovely. I can see Barb and Sue and Lynn. Hey, Lynn and Susan. Good morning, guys. Pop in as you pop in. Please say hello. Tell me where you're watching from. If this is your first time watching, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe so you don't miss out on my videos going forward. Okay, so let's get started. I've got a few confessions to make about this particular bundle. I popped it up in my card group as an option for my next product class. Never in a million years thinking that anyone would go for it. I actually thought everyone would go for the other stamp bundle that I'd nominated, but everyone went for this one. Well, the majority went for this one, the Blessings of Home bundle. And I have to admit that I have touched it very little in the last, sort of 4 or 5 months since it came out. And to be honest, the Flowers of Home dies were actually still in the plastic this morning when I finally found them. So this is a new, well, not new, I've had it for a long time. But this is one I haven't touched much. So I'm sort of coming to terms with it myself. So you might see that I'm copying or gaining inspiration from other designers, other demonstrators. So if you see something similar to what I'm doing for you today, probably that's because I'm still coming to terms with this particular bundle in preparation for next month's product class, which will be good for me. It's good to get outside your comfort zone now and then. I'm sure you guys agree. And having something sitting in the plastic for 6 months is definitely a waste. So it needed to come out of the plastic. Okay, I'm going to do 2 cards for you today. The first one you've probably seen if you hang around my Facebook group and Facebook page is this little one here. This one's just basically the large image from the stamp set, coloured in between with black ink, black marker, and then hand coloured with our beautiful blends as well. So I'm not going to do one this size. I'm going to do a smaller note card one for you today, just so you don't have to sit and watch me do a whole lot of hand colouring. And I'm also swapping out the black for Misty Moonlight. And there's a fairly fundamental reason I'm swapping out the black, is that this was the end of my black marker. It just refused to cooperate any longer after I'd spent some time colouring this one. So this is basically the black version, so it's got a black card base. I'm going to be doing a Night of Navy version, which I must say I do prefer the black. When you see it, you'll probably agree, but when your marker dies, your marker dies. There's not much you can do about it. I was contemplating a light basic black version, but I think it's a bit wishy-washy. It's neither here nor there, so we'll go with the midnight Misty Moonlight version. Okay, so I'm doing, as I say, a note card version of this one, not the full size, just so that it's a little bit smaller and easy to manage. I'm going to grab the beautiful big flowers from the set. I have used this stamp set a little bit, I have to admit. This particular image of the stamp set, I mean. Yes, so I haven't neglected it completely, only mostly. But you know how you have your pile of shame, don't you? Every stamper has their pile of shame. I can see Jan, Vicky and Fran are watching from their coffee date. Are you guys actually in the cafe at the moment? Tell me if you are. Order me, have a latte for me. Anyway, so I probably don't need any more coffee today. I've already had my fill. So I'm just going to stamp this image around on this little piece of white cardstock, and I'm just going to butt them up as close to each other as I can, so that middle, what am I calling it? The colouring for the misty moonlight is kept to a minimum. Okay, I've just re-inked my black so it's nice and dark. Now make sure you're stamping on something you don't mind getting a little bit inky. Now I'm going to rotate the stamp a wee bit every time I do it, just so it looks a little bit different, doesn't look too samey. And as I say, I'm trying to bring them sort of close to each other, but not too close. So isn't that that's pretty. I like that. Even just in black and white, that's pretty. Now I'm going to rotate the stamp completely and bring this, which just happens to be the right sort of shape to pop up in that little corner there. Just like that. So you can see the colouring there with the misty moonlight is going to be minimal, or black if your black marker hasn't died, like mine did. And then I'm going to bring this little top section in there, and again, as close as I'm comfortable with. There we are. So that's our basis for our colouring in. Give that a little wipe down. Now I'm going to grab my misty, this is my dark misty moonlight, and I've got my brush end. So what I tend to do, because the brush end brings out more ink and it's easier to do a larger area with one sweep, I do the big areas first, as close to the detail as I feel comfortable. And the ink does spread a wee bit with this brush end, which makes it, well, I find it difficult to do the really fine detail with the brush end because of that ink, the extra ink coming out. And I'm sure someone else has perfected it. So I'll just go all the way around in the larger areas with the brush end. You can see some more familiar names jumping on. Okay, you'll be pleased to know that I'm not going to colour this whole thing. So you don't have to, if you're watching me from a coffee shop, you don't have to order another coffee. I do actually have one already done, so I'm just going to show you the main parts. So then what I'm going to come back with the finer end, or for me, the easier to handle end, and then just complete those little fine details. I've never been an adult colourer, to be honest. I don't think I was much of a colourer as a kid either. I know a lot of kids would wade through colouring books and go through pencils. I think my brother and sister were very much like that. I was never much for that. I always, don't know, always more on the go. Mum reckoned I was always playing shops or building forts or pretending I was on a voyage of some sort, a bit like that as a kid. So colouring was never a thing, but I do find it very therapeutic. Now, some of you are probably shaking your head and going, well, that explains a few things. That explains a few things. So, as I say, all the way around there, filling in those little fine details with whichever way. You might find it easier to do the whole bit in the fine end, or you might find it, if you've got more control, that you can do those with the brush end. Anyway, Here we are. So that's what I would obviously continue all the way around, and doing most of it with the big brush end. It reduces the time that you have to spend sort of colouring in those little bits and pieces. There you go. Okay, so I've got so many markers here, some blends here. It's a matter of trying to work out which ones. Now, there's some little, what I think of as sort of daisies in this little design, these little ones here with their dark little centres. And I'm going to do those with a combination of light cinnamon cider, just in their little centres, just like that. And then dark daffodil delight. So with the stamp sets that we have with these large images, it actually gives you, if you look at this design, it actually has some dark and light patches in the actual stamp itself. So if you're colour challenged, as I've just explained I am, you can actually just keep your darker version for the parts that are obviously in shadow, because that's what the stamp has told you, that it's in shadow. So I'm just sticking with the darker parts of the stamp, and that's what I'm sticking to with my dark Daffodil Delight. It's, you know, these stamps are so good, they make artists out of all of us, even if we're not artistic. And then I've got my light Daffodil Delight, and I'm just going to blend in with that and sort of blend that light, that dark Daffodil Delight and the cinnamon cider all in together. A bit exciting. I have a lot of lovely crafty friends, and you've just seen Jan jump on and say that she's in a coffee shop with Vicky and Fran. They're my beautiful Canberra crew, and Jenny Christmas as well. I've actually just booked my tickets. It's very brave. It's the first time I've been out of the state since we had our pandemic, but I've just booked my tickets to go and have a weekend or a long weekend with them in Canberra. So I'm very excited about that. So April, I'm trying to contemplate how I can go live from Canberra. That sounds so cool, doesn't it? Live from Canberra. Here's Julianne Richards in Jan Casey's craft room. Okay, so that's the yellow. So obviously I would do that bunch and that little bunch and this little bunch up here and those around there as well. So these big, large flowers, I don't know what would they'd be. I'm going to do them in a combination of dark polished pink, light polished pink, and light flirty flamingo. Same sort of thing. And I've realised that this card is probably a little bit of a homage to our in colours that will be retiring in April, the 2020 to 2022 in colours. That's because I'm using a few of them today. So the not the polished pink's going, but the misty moonlight and the what else is it's going? The cinnamon cider, which I'll use a bit more later. They're all sort of retiring. So if you love them, make sure you grab your refills and your paper supplies while you can. The new catalogue will kick off in, the current catalogue ends in April, so the new one will kick off in May. Oh, that's a leaf. I've just coloured in a leaf pink. I mean, a leaf that should be, Lord, I shouldn't talk and craft at the same time. Anyway, so I'll bring in my light, hopefully not too late for that leaf to be green rather than pink. I'm just bringing my light polished pink now. And I'm just going to use that to sort of blend the dark in, and I'm going to take that only to the very edge. So leaving a tiny, tiny blank piece right at the very edge of that. So mostly just blending it up to the end. Okay. And then this is where I'm going to bring in my light flirty flamingo. And that's what I'm going to use to take it right to the very tip. And again, blending a wee bit so you don't get a sharp line as you go. And that sort of gives this one a sort of a light, just a light tip. And some shadows at the base. Okay, and in there too. Okay, so that's my nice big pink flower there. You can see it gives it a bit of a 3D light and shadow effect. Now, the leaves, which that one started off being pink, so we won't talk about that one. He's got a bit of an identity crisis. I'm going to do in light and dark granny apple green. And again, the light just follows where the dark follows the dark contours. I wonder if I can salvage that one. It's going to be a funny colour, that one. The dark sticks to the shadows that the stamp set is telling you is where the shadows will be. Let's find some leaves that haven't been pinked. He's going to look very funny, isn't he? That one with a bit of pink underneath. So then I'll bring my light in and just blend that through. I was going to make another card out of this one, but I don't think so. Not with that, unless I can cover it with something. That funny purple leaf. It now looks purple. Okay, so obviously there's our leaves. We're going to continue with that all the way around as well. Just bring that, put my finger over him, and you can see the rest of the green. Anyway, that's just funny. Okay, and there are some, and just a tiny last little piece, there are some tiny little flowers. You can see them just there at the end of this one. Just tiny little flowers. I don't think this one that I'm colouring has actually got them because I've sort of gone off the page. Just some tiny little flowers there, and they are going to be a combination of light and dark fresh freesia, mostly dark. So again, following the instructions that the stamp gives you, where the light and dark would be, and that's what you do. So there you go. So wherever those little flowers are, they are going to be fresh freesia. Okay, so with the magic of film, ta-da! Here's one I prepared earlier. Okay, so you don't have to sit through me making me do pink leaves. Here's the one I've done earlier. Obviously, we've still got, and I'll make sure you guys can see it, we've got our pink flowers, nice big ones. We've got our green leaves this time. None of them have actually pretended to be pink. Our fresh freesia tiny little bud flowers and our daffodil delight combo there. So with our misty moonlight all the way through. Could probably make that misty moonlight a little bit darker by going through it again, I reckon, because every time you layer it up with another layer of misty moonlight, that would get darker and darker, but that's entirely up to you. So there's my already coloured panel through the magic of television. Okay, so what I'm going to do basically is just layer that up. I've got a layer of polished pink here. There we are. Going to pop that on a layer of polished pink. And as I say, this is just a note card. So it's a 5-inch by 7-inch piece of cardstock that's scored at 3.5. So it makes a 3.5 by 5 little note card. So that's that one there. And then I've got my beautiful soon to retire Midnight Misty Moonlight. At least I won't have to get the name mixed up anymore. Misty Moonlight card base to pop that on. Okay, there we go. That's just our little note card there with our blessings of home flowers. Going to do a sentiment, and I've got this tiny little strip. Don't you love your waste offcuts of white? Little strip of basic white there. That's 3/8 of an inch wide. Just perfectly came out of the trimmer that way, left over from something else. I'm going to grab Now, I wonder if I should do it in Misty Moonlight, because I did the other one in black, because it was a black base. I might do mine in Misty Moonlight this time rather than black again. And from the stamp set, it is Have a Perfect Birthday. Can't get much better than that. Have a perfect birthday. And I'm just going to pop that on there. Hopefully get over the top of it enough so it doesn't go crooked. It's a bit hard when you're filming. Camera tends to take dominance. Eek! Crooked. Don't think my sticker's on completely straight with this one. Excuse me, I'm just going to bring this really close to me so I can get over the top of it, just because I don't think my sticker is on straight. I don't know if that's any better. Yep, that's better. There you go. So Have a Perfect Birthday. That's on a 3/8 of an inch wide strip. I'm going to, as I've done with my original card, I'm just going to trim the end of it. So just straight. Hopefully sort of straight. And then I'm going to banner the other end so I can pop it on the card. A bit more. There we go. So I'm just going to bring that from the right hand side, line it up with the edge of the card and bring it there towards the right hand side. Grab some dimensionals. I had some out ready for myself. There we go. Because it's only such a tiny little strip of cardstock, I'm going to just use my little tiny dimensionals. Eek. Don't want to cover over too much of our detail. So I think probably fairly down low would be better. There we go. Make sure it's straightish, Julianne, at least. There we go. Okay. Have a Perfect Birthday. It's not overly flashy or anything, but I think there's enough colouring in that to make it, to give it a bit of wow factor. Then I have my polished pink in colour gems. These are like the blingiest thing you've ever seen. I've gone through so many packs of this. Every time I think to myself, what am I going to use? I come back to these in colour gems, and I'm just going to pop a couple of those around. And on the blue, they stand out a lot more, I think, than they did on the black, which is nice. Except that one's got a hair on it. And then another, so I'm going to put 5 on. Always got to be odd numbers, somebody told me once. There's 5. So there's 2 at the top there and 3 down the bottom around to highlight the sentiment. There we go. So that is my adult colouring in there for the day. I'm feeling totally relaxed and de-stressed now. So hopefully if you're feeling a bit stressed with the world the way it is at the moment, just jump on and do some colouring in and you'll be totally blissed out by the time you finish. But it's not too bad. I don't hate the Misty Moonlight. I do prefer the black. So you guys can tell me which one you prefer. I'm definitely waiting for my black marker to in the next order to come so I can continue on with my black colouring. But yeah, so that's my alternative since my black ink has died. Okay, so second card. We are doing 2. Did I tell you that to start with? I'm doing 2. Anyway, surprise, surprise, I'm doing 2. This one uses some elements of the stamp set that I didn't even have the stickers on, so I hadn't touched them. So I'm using the smaller flower this time. And I've taken the Flowers of Home dies out of their plastic, so I'm using those as well. So I'm going to keep my banner punch because I'm going to use the same, I think I'm going to use the same sentiment for this one. Okay, so this one again is a bit of an homage to our retiring cinnamon cider. I did get, again, I'm going to be very upfront with you, I got inspiration from, this isn't exactly the card, but I got inspiration from Pinterest for this one today. I'll pop that demonstrator's name in the comments to do the right thing. I've got, as I said, cinnamon cider card base, 5.5 by 8 1/4, scored to give me a 4 by 5 and 4 1/8 by 5.5 inch card. Then I have, what else do I have? Oh, some of the beautiful, and I love this paper, even though I say I haven't touched this, the bundle, the stamp set and the dies much, I have touched the paper a lot, have used a lot of it, is what I mean, not touched it. Yes, I have used a lot of the paper. In fact, I've used 3 or 4 packs of it. So I love this paper, specifically this one with all the cute little bees on it. Isn't that so cute? And the cinnamon cider and the pale papaya colour tones, which is really nice. So I've got a 4 by 5 3/8 piece of cardstock, chopped it straight in half at 2 inches and flipped it over. So I'm going to use half and half. So I'm going to pop, and I can't remember what I actually decided to do. I think I'm going to pop the wood grain, because each of these, if you're always looking for a wood grain, each of the designs in this particular, what's it called? It's just lost my mind. Just slipped my mind. Blessings of Home Designer Series paper has wood grain on the other side. So you get a pattern on one side and wood grain. So you've got more wood grain than you can poke a wooden stick at, really. So I'm going to, as much as it breaks my heart, I'm going to glue half and half. So half is going to be, I think I decided wood grain on the left. There won't be any overlap. I've tried to always keep my, and this is my kit cutting head that pops in, I always try to keep my designer series paper to 4-inch multiples, 3 or 4-inch multiples, so I can maximize what I get out of a pack when I'm cutting kits. So these ones are 4 inches exactly, which means they will butt up exactly to each other. There won't be any overlap, but that's okay. I don't think that's too much of a problem in this case. If you were making this card and you like to butt them over so that they one covers over the other, then of course you can do that, but you're not going to get the full multiples out of your pack. There we go. So I've got that. That's quite cute. Just a bit of difference there. So we'll do the inside in a minute. So I'm going to use this other little flower from the pack, this one here, this cute little guy here. And I'm going to bring in my cinnamon cider ink, which I hope I just didn't close properly this morning, because that's going to dry out that way. I'm just going to grab the cinnamon cider ink and I'm going to just stamp one image just like that on white cardstock. Then, because I'm sort of going for an earthy, oldie, worldy sort of look with this one, I've got my pale papaya blend. If you wanted a bit more bling, you could do the same thing with your Wink of Stella. Just colour it, and it just makes the ink sort of run a little bit, which normally isn't a good thing, but in this case you actually do want it. But I'm going to use my pale papaya blend. And again, as we talked about with the previous card, I'm just sticking to the parts of the image that is telling me that it's darker, that's in shadow. Might be going a tiny bit further, but I'm sticking mostly to those areas. It will run a wee bit, but in this case I don't think it matters too much. I think it just adds to the earthiness of it. Excuse me, I've got an itchy nose. Not very ladylike. Okay, so we're just colouring those, just giving it a wee bit of colour. So this sort of looks like, what do they call those old-fashioned photographs that Somebody will tell me straight away, won't you? Those old-fashioned photographs that sort of are a brown sort of, got a special name, sort of that brown sort of colouring to them. That's sort of what I'm going for here. Thank you. Who was that said sepia? Sally. Thanks, Sal. Okay, so that's really all I'm going for there. And I haven't even been particularly careful with my colouring in. Some bits are white, some bits are pale papaya, some bits are calypso coral. It's all a bit of a mishmash. So there we are. Okay, so there is another one. I have got my die cut machine across the other side of my room, which is probably a failing of my new setup. I was going to show you around I was going to change camera views and show you around my new room too. Just hang 5, we'll do that at the end. It's worth hanging around the end because you get to see my new craft room setup. Anyway, so there we are. We have, this is one I preferred earlier. So just basically bits of white, bits of cinnamon cider and bits of pale papaya, and they're all just on there, which is really pretty. Okay, so just to finish this one off, and this is about as far as I got with this one. This is one of those Julianne cards that she sort of had in her head and saw in a picture, but didn't quite get to the finish of to do a sample. So we're sort of winging it from here. So from the, now this is tailored tags, this one. This is the tailor-made tags. Very, very handy. Really love this stamps, this dies. If you haven't got it, add it to your stash. It's got various size tags, and I've got to be a bit careful there or I'll lose them. I've got sort of this one with the frill, sort of a more decorative end, which is the one I'm using this time, and then just the plain old square end there. And these are really handy. You wouldn't think you would use a tag as much as you do when you realise that just how versatile they can be as backgrounds and things. They just don't have to be tags. Anyway, so case in point, I've got a pale papaya tag here. What I'm going, yes, pale papaya. What I'm going to do is use the beautiful pale papaya in colour ribbon from this year as well. So it's a bit of a mix of old in colours and new in colours, this card. I'm going to pop that through the little hole in the tag, just like that. Yep, no, that works. Then I've got just a slight, as I said, I'm trying to go for really earthy here. I've got a piece of linen twine, so I might do that in a double. So I'm just going to fold that a wee bit and then feed that. This is the time in your life when you wish you had 3 hands. Fold that through there. Or at least somebody who would come into the craft room on demand and help you with the things that you need 3 hands for. So I'm just going to tie off that ribbon with the little piece of linen twine. Maybe white would work better, but I'm using my linen. And then I'm just going to tie that as a bow, as a knot. I'm not going to bother bowing it. She says, even making a mess of a bow, of a knot. Because I've got the double. Okay, just a knot there. Just going to trim those off. Till they're all the same. Okay, so there, and I'm going to trim. I obviously don't need all of that pale papaya ribbon, as pretty as it is. I'll trim that off as well. There we are. So I've got my cute little tag there. So that's going to pop onto the front of the card. I'm actually going to pop it on dimensionals. Might trim that, have to trim that ribbon down a wee bit more. It's overlapping the edge there. We'll see. I'll make it first and see how we go. So that one's going to pop on the front there. Then our little flower is going to sit on the tag. And then I've got, from the die set that I only just took the plastic off, I've got these are cut from cinnamon cider. So they're just little sprigs of leaves. The die set has 3 or 4 of them. They're quite cute. And I'm just going to pop those sort of up and behind my little flower, just to give it, bring that cinnamon cider forward a bit. How's that? Yep. Then my sentiment is going to sit across the base of it like that. So let's get that together. That seems all right. I think that's come out in my head. As I say, I did this final bit of the design. I did get inspiration from another demonstrator whose name escapes me at the moment, but I will credit eventually when I finish. Okay, so I'm just going to glue that one on. I think glue it on, or it's a bit too much dimensionals happening if I put that on dimensionals and that. Or maybe I'll glue this and dimension everything else. As I say, work in progress. Here we are. So that's slightly off, well, very much off center there. I'll pop some dimensionals on the back of this little guy. See, I was having a bit of a practice with the, what was I using, the Wink of Stella on the back there. So a few dimensionals around. Trying not to go too close to the edge because I do want to eventually pop those little sprigs in. Pop another one. Just cut a little one in half for the stem. There we go. How's that? Then we'll bring in our little sprigs of leaves. If I can remember, I like the way I had it before, if I can remember how it was. I had that little guy there. That's the way, isn't it? You lay it out and you think, oh, that's perfect. You take everything off and then you can't remember how it was. Doesn't matter too much. Now, got to be careful though, because my sentiment is going to be across the bottom. Yep, that should work. Looks at my finger. And then this little guy up the top there. Okay, so again, I'm going to use my No One Deserves, no, that's not it, Have a Perfect Birthday. And again with my cinnamon cider. Coming over at the top because I know that my sticker is not straight. There we are. And this time I'm just going to do straight at, just cut straight at either end, no bannering this time. Just pop that across the bottom. So I'm going to put a dimensional at either end and some glue in the middle. stick to my finger. Might bring those in a bit as well. Okay, so just straight across the centre like that, which is absolutely not straight, but that's all right. There we go. So that's our mostly decorated. I thought what would be really nice with this rather than our normal bling is the brushed brass butterflies. I just think they'd be really nice with the overall design. So I'm going to pop a couple of little butterflies around just to keep our bees from our designer series paper company. There we are. Okay, so that is quite cute. I quite like that. I am going to definitely trim that ribbon just in a bit because it's overlapping the card far too much there. Just a wee bit. Actually, no, just a wee bit. I'll let it overlap a bit, but not quite as much as it is. Okay, there we are. So I'll pop a little panel on the inside, maybe stamp it with one of the extra. These other sentiments are unusual to say. I'm sure I'll find something, especially at the moment, they're quite appropriate. We can get through anything together. What a beautiful day for love. You are a real blessing to everyone around you, and thank you for inspiring me. So you could always mask a little bit if you didn't like it. If you just wanted to thank you, you could mask the for inspiring me. If you wanted to get rid, just have what a beautiful day, you could mask the for love and not use that part. But yeah, so they're unusual to say the least. But you know, we have so many happy birthdays and with sympathies that probably unusual is good now and then. Okay, so there's my second card using the, and quite literally, I would probably call it my second card using the Blessings of Home bundle. There you go. I've let you all into a dirty secret. Well, not dirty secret. One of my deep, dark secrets is that I hadn't actually touched it very much before today. But there you go. So now I've touched it twice, which is probably a better thing. Less waste of money when I go and tell my husband how much money I'm spending on crafting. Doesn't bode well to say I'm spending X, and I don't touch half of it, which is not a good thing to say. Okay, so we've got our black background, which is I think is our preferred background, but I'll get back to that as soon as I get my new markers. Our substitute in the Misty Moonlight, which is pretty, don't get me wrong, that's nice. And this really lovely earthy one with our designer series paper and cinnamon cider. Cinnamon cider, Misty Moonlight, Magenta Madness, what else is going? Bumblebee, I'm really going to miss Bumblebee. And Just Jade are the colours that will retire in April. So as I say, if you love those, please stock up before they're gone. I will actually pop a little panel on the inside. I did this in my last card the other day, didn't I? I said my farewells and then I finished the card. I did actually have that cut for inside. And a little offcut of designer series paper. You guys know how much I hate waste, so I'm going to pop the offcut of designer series paper on the inside as well. So that's pretty. As I say, that paper, I could use that paper all day. It's just glorious. So there's a little bit of it in the inside there, just to bring it from the front to the inside. Okay, that really is as much as I've got for you today. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you again during the week. I don't know what I'm going to do during the week. I'm sure I'll get inspired by something. But I am going to feature this bundle a fair bit during the month of March, and it is going to be my product class for March. I'm just about to release my Fun Fold class for March. I do 2 classes each month. Hopefully you guys realise that. And I do have my Fun Fold class ready for release on the 1st of March. I'll just give you a preview of those, just anyone who's still hanging around. Fun Fold classes, you only need your own sentiments and adhesives. I give you everything else that you need that you see here, everything else to produce these cards, just sentiments you need and just adhesives. We've got some daffodils here on the right with the wonderful daffodil afternoon paper. We've got a cute little heart here in the middle, which is the, can't remember what it's called, but that's based on the heart bundle from the mini catalogue. And this I think is my favourite. This is for the Bloom Where You're Planted bundle, and I'll design a series paper, and it's a spanner card. So that's my favourite out of the class. So that's my class for my Fun Fold class for March. So that I'll pop that up with full pricing on my Facebook page over the next few days. So thanks for watching, guys. I will see you all during the week. Have a great one. Stay safe. And yeah, I'll see you all. Okay, bye.